Call to order this regular meeting of the Board of Directors for Northview Water District, Thursday, October 24th at 5 p.m. Roll call, please.
President Hansard.
Here.
Vice President Brown.
Here.
Director Nielsen.
Here.
Director Hawthorne.
Here.
Director Floor. Here. General Manager Moffett.
Here. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item C, public input. Opportunity for public comment on any non-agendized item within the jurisdiction of the district board. However, no action may be taken by the board on topics or matters presented during this public input agenda item. The public must address the board on specific agendized items only during the board's consideration of that item. We have a couple requests to speak. Forms, the first one would be Zach Cross.
Hello, esteemed board. A few weeks ago, I did a Freedom of Information Act request through you guys, and it was pertaining to 710 forms. And my goodness, it was very thorough in most occasions, but I wondered why you had not filed your 710 form out directly to Director Ford. No answer? Well, in any case, then, if that's something legally not to answer, based on my discoveries, it might be prudent that somebody go back and fill those out. I believe they might be in violation.
I'd like to respond.
Okay.
Thank you. So Mr. Cross, I also went back to, actually, it's not a Freedom of Information Act, but this is not a federal agency. It's a California Public Records request.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. For
And
the
if you go to the elections office, all of those documents are on file publicly.
Oh, yes, I've
Yes.
seen them all.
So
However,
every single person up here filed incorrectly, not just me, everyone did. And I actually amended mine and repaired it. So thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you. I'll give a
Yes,
look at
but
that.
please look at everyone else's, because theirs is all filled out incorrectly as well.
It
How
looked like
was
it was
it
very thorough. Thank you, Lynn.
Let's keep it to public comment on this right now. Next, Jenny Cavalieri.
What was my topic on that? Wasn't it financial?
You have irrigation.
I want to address during the manager's report on that, and then the other one, financial, I think when Heidi speaks about finances.
Okay.
Thank you.
Buck Weckman.
Thank you. Sorry for my appearances today, but I've been working all day and just got done. I wanted to go over a little history on some of the grants that we've received. Some time back, this board requested a $500,000 grant through the Clean Waters Act. It was passed 4-1. Director Floor voted against it. It went to the State Water Board. They researched it, looked at it, and they approved it. That's a 9-person board. So far we've got 13 people saying it's good, and one person saying it's not. That wasn't good enough, but shortly after that a complaint was filed, and Director Floor and Alton Wright was involved in that. And anyway, the complaint was made, so the Water Board made a thorough investigation of that and found out that all the accusations that were made against this board and our manager was unfounded. So involved in that was the investigator, an attorney, and the head of the investigations department of the Water Board. That's about 3 people, so we're now about 16 people disagreement with Director Floor. Shortly after that, this board requested a grant from the Yuba County Water Agency, and went to about $225,000. The board approved that grant 4-1. Director Floor being the abstainer, voting against it. So now we're up to 17-1 against, for something she's against. So it went before the Water Board. They discussed it, and all but one voted for it. I think there was 6 present that day, so I don't know, we're up to 20-something plus. There was 4 or something the Director Four was opposed to. So I really have to say that as a residential use customer, these grants would certainly have helped us getting nice, clean water and future water sources. So I really have to be concerned about Director Floor's representation and her feeling of supporting clean water for residential use customers. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, any more?
That would be me. I totally disagree. Director Fleur does a great job. She represents the people. She brings up issues that are very pertinent. There's a lot of validity to them. The research was done. I'm sorry that the state made the decision to cover their ass. That's what they did. I'm sorry that they did it. And I'm getting tired of time after time you chastising our director. Thank you.
Any more comment? Sir?
I'm Charlie Matthews, member of the Yuba County Water Agency Utility Division. I wanted to clarify what happened at the meeting a week ago. Your letter came, and the manager suggested that the appropriate way to do it, to extend the monies of the agencies for all of us, was that to put the motion in different context, which was to approve an outright grant of, I believe, $60,000, and a loan, no interest loan at $160, with the complete understanding that if the $160 didn't come, and I believe it's from your $500,000 grant, that this would be a way to leverage the money that should be completely protected. I made the substitute motion. The substitute motion died immediately. I'm in complete favor of your grant. I just think that the policy of the agency should be that anytime we can leverage money for a project, it's in the best interest of all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie.
Any more? Any more comment? Okay. Item D, consent items. Approval of payroll for the month of September 2019 in the amount of $32,543.46. Item 2, approval of the bills for the month of September 2019 in the amount of $75,603.27. And item 3, approval of warrant number 52-37237, fund number 637, payable to North Yuba Water District in the amount of $150,000 for bills and payroll. And warrant number 52-37238 from fund number 640, payable to North Yuba Water District in the amount of $50,000 for fixed assets, structure $30,000. Services and supplies $20,000.
I have a question. Where are the meeting minutes from the last meeting?
They're not completed.
I'm sorry?
They're not completed.
I make a motion we accept consent items 1, 2, and 3.
Second.
Public comment?
Just as for your information, for people's information, when we have warrants, is it possible, I mean, I remember what these funds are from, but the public does not know what Fund 37 is, or Fund 640. Would it be difficult to say one is irrigation, or one is general funds, or one is whatever, so people know where the money is coming out of? Is that possible to consider putting that in where we take money out of the actual funds for the district? Just something to consider. It would be helpful to the public to understand.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, the other thing too is if there is an actual board packet, you can go to the cash accounts, and it actually will tell you the account number that it's coming out of. So number 637 is general district, or general distribution, I assume, and the other one says savings here. So, just so you know, if you have a board packet, you can see it.
Any more comment? Okay.
I have a question. So I see that even though we still are not under any sort of a contract for smart marketing, we have paid smart marketing $5,774.30, and I'd like to know what that was for.
Okay. That would be basically our public outreach.
What product did she provide us? What did she give us? I mean, obviously, there's this thing which I'll ask some questions about later. But I understand also she's actually been at meetings with Mr. Wapping. Is she billing for going to meetings with him? This is a great deal of money. If you'll recall, there's that $20,000 that was supposed to go for GIS and other services. That's 25% of that budget used up in a single month for something that I don't know what this is. So, I mean, I would like to know what she did for almost $6,000. What did she do?
I can
You
work
want-
it,
yeah.
I can discuss it with her for a better breakdown.
Okay. So you guys will do that together?
I think what he's saying is, come on in.
I just
Meet with
need-
him. I'm pretty much aware of what it's for because I come in. It's like we've
Well,
told you in the past.
okay, that's great, but that doesn't let the public know what that money is going for, and that's what I keep coming back to, is if I ask a question in the board meeting, I'm asking a question on behalf of my constituents, and are you saying that you want all 100 or 330 people that are in my division to come in to get an answer for that? Because that's the whole point of a meeting, is that we ask questions, the information is made publicly available to the public, because this is a public agency. So to come in person really isn't just the end-all be-all for this, for the answer to my question. And it certainly seems to me we only have one PR person, obviously, and it should be, I would assume it would be right in your head, well, you know, she did a brochure, she did a survey, she went to the YWA meeting with me twice, she did this. I mean, I would think that that would be something that would be there, that you can answer the question, so the public knows where the money's going. And again, we don't have a contract with this company yet, and this is over 25% of the budget that was supposed to go for public outreach and GIS used up in 1 month. So,
Have you, let me ask a question, have you tried to reach out prior to the meeting right now when you received that? I'm sure that question came up when you looked at your board packet.
no, because the idea of the board
It just
meeting is
seems
to
like it
come
would-
here with the questions.
Seems like it would make a lot of sense if you could sit down and actually go over every detail that you have questions on, because they'll have it in front of them. They don't have that thing. We've said this numerous times, you've had the same answer. You've asked the same question in multiple meetings, we give you the same answer.
Well, the
You're welcome to
information
come in and speak to them
should
prior
be,
to, it's more like you're bandstanding and trying to create.
this is not bandstanding, and I am really getting tired of being accused of bandstanding when I ask a question.
Okay.
The public has a right to know the answers to the questions that I'm asking
And
on
you-
their behalf.
And you can come and get the answers and speak to your constituents, as many of us do to our own constituents. Thank you.
May I address that?
Yeah. Okay,
May I address that?
no, we're past that. Thanks.
This is part of
Excuse me.
what's happening.
We're gonna take a vote. Okay, need a motion?
Need a motion.
Okay.
Made it and seconded.
Roll call, please.
President Hanson,
Yes.
Vice President Brown?
Yes.
Director Nelson?
Yes.
Director Hawthorne?
Affirmative.
Director Fleur?
Please enter this into the minutes. I am voting no because I have not received an answer to my question.
Okay, item E, financial managers report. This would be Heidi.
As of September 30th, 2019, total cash in all accounts, including reserves, was $5,015,926.80. Total income for the fiscal year to date, which is July through September, was $380,837.39. Total expenses were $423,660.63, leaving a net loss of $42,823.24. And so far, year to date, the district is below budget, so that concludes my report.
Any questions? Public? Yes.
If I may address and ask Heidi a question about, I'm curious, have we received our check for net power revenues from South Feather this year?
Okay, so I'm gonna interrupt you. This is comment, so.
Yeah, I
you
am
can-
gonna comment based on the answer, yes.
She's not gonna answer. She does not have to answer. This is a comment.
Okay, I'm assuming because I do read South Feather's budget and been to their meetings, the district has not received our net power revenues that we depend on to make our budget. This budget that we currently was approved by this board back in June was rubber stamped by 4 gentlemen and disapproved by Dr. Fleur. And I got up then and spoke to you gentlemen and warned you about approving that budget. You approved a budget based on expenses from last year when we had an additional $2.some million come in. Now you're without that money and you approved a budget that's approximately 35% more than last year. I would highly recommend, rather than taking the next 2 months off, that you guys call a special meeting and revise your budget before you go into the dump next month or next year. You don't have enough money to operate the way you are. And you don't have enough, I can guarantee you, without that money being there.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I would like to also speak as a residential customer for this district. And I would like to share with you that I have been a member of this community for 38 years. This water board has been besieged by the community that has nothing else to do but pick on us. And unfortunately, I watched one of the managers die because of that. And he won a lawsuit because of this. And our community looks like mud because of this. There are those people within this community that will not let these men and this water board do their job. They just are not allowed to do their job because some people in this community have a hobby. And their hobby involves harassing the district and harassing customers. I have been receiving emails from an anonymous source for the last year, every week. On a Sunday, maybe I get 3 in the morning from North Europe Water Alliance.
Bring it back on topic, please.
Okay, I'm just saying, not only is the water district not able to do their job, the community is at risk because they're being intimidated by this group. And all we want is for these men to be healthy, be able to make good decisions, be able to come together for the community. That's it. Thank you, and thank you for the work that you do.
Let's keep the applause, no applause, please. Thank you. Okay, yes, ma'am, back row.
As a member of those opposing forces, I am a member of this community for 45 years. I do not do this with having nothing else to do. This water is very important to this community and to me and to all the people. And we are protecting the water district. We are not trying to stop it. We are trying to make it work successfully. I disagree. I'm sorry that you believe that, and I'm sorry if you are harassed. I do not believe in harassing
Okay,
anyone.
let's bring it back on topic here. We're talking about the financial manager's report. We really got sidetracked, we can't keep doing this. Let's bring it back on topic. I'm gonna be stopping it if it starts to deviate. Can't let it go like that, okay? Is there any other comments on the financial manager's report? Okay. Item
I have
F.
another comment.
Okay, yeah.
May I have a quick moment
No.
to say that
No.
this is an open meeting, it's
Sit down,
public
please.
information.
Sit down, please.
That's my comment.
You've had your time to
Supposed to be
speak.
public.
Okay, that's the motion to go.
I make a motion, we accept the financial manager's report.
I'll second that motion. Roll call, please.
President Hanser?
Yes.
Vice President Brown?
Yes.
Director Nelson?
Yes.
Director Hawthorne?
Affirmative.
Director Ford?
I repeat myself, I have not gotten any answer to my question, so I vote no.
Okay, item F, out-of-boundary service agreement between North Yuba Water District and the Arrow Pines Homeowners Association. With that, I'll turn it over to the general manager.
Mr. President, members of the board, you had a request for service to the Arrow Pines that we, 2 meetings past. You agreed to provide service to them on condition that they annex to the district. And this is the outfall of that. Our attorney has provided you with a contract for your review and approval.
Okay, do we have any questions? from the
Yes, I don't believe this contract is a final product. The biggest challenge that we face right now as a water district is that we have 1,500 people annexed into this district who have been paying taxes for the better part of 40 to 50 years with the promise of water. They've never received a drop of water. And so we need to be very careful on the language in this contract. And what I do not see is, I do not see an absolute requirement for annexation in this contract, and I do not see a deadline. There needs to be a deadline that says, if by this period of time, you are not annexed. In fact, there's language in here that says, the association agrees that the district may apply for the annexation. There should be no may about it. They must be annexed, and if they're not annexed, and if it's not made by a specific time frame, then we need to terminate that service. There is, down here it says, the district shall provide water services pursuant to the agreement as if it were within the district's boundaries until A, such time as the district annexes all of association, in which case the agreement shall automatically terminate. B, the agreement is terminated by mutual written agreement. Or C, the agreement is terminated due to default. Default needs to be identified if we're talking about financial default or we're talking about default in terms of annexation. So that needs to be defined, but we owe it to those 1,500 people who have been waiting for their water for decades and paying their taxes. We owe it to those people to have this much more defined, and a termination clause that says if you're not annexed by X date, by this period of time, then we terminate the service.
Okay. Anything else? Anything else? Okay. Barbara, did you want to jump in on that at all?
The annexation is indicated, is done by the district. They don't do it, and the association doesn't have any control over that process. So, I mean, you could put a date in there, but this is the district's process, they've filled out the form, they've done their end of it, they've provided some additional information for that application. This is all done through the annexation process. This application for out of service is through LAFCO, and then the follow-up step is, the full annexation. So if you wanna put a timeline in there, they don't control that timeline.
That's fine, but we should have a timeline, and we also need to get rid of this waffle weasel language that says may.
Well, it's up to you.
Yeah, it needs
I mean,
to
it's
say
your
will,
choice.
So it's gonna,
shall.
if I understand, it's gonna
It's
come
not,
down
but
to
that, you're
a
making an
vote.
agreement with them, they're saying that they agree that you do it, and they won't protest it.
If I understand it right, it'll be in the vote, that we will vote for this,
Yeah.
the final, or, I'm sorry, for, you say, the district may, it's written, we may.
Mhm.
Is it written that way because it's gonna go to a vote by the board of directors?
You'll have to take the next step to do the annexation process.
Right, cause I believe we've already voted on this.
Right, you've already said that in order for them to have service.
Right.
This is an agreement with them, between you and them.
Exactly.
And so it's up to, and it's your obligation to process the annexation. What you need out of them is that they won't protest it.
What I was getting at is we've already voted on this,
Yeah,
it's passed.
yeah,
What I'm talking about is the weasel language.
I know, but this is an
Everybody's-
agreement between you and the association, so this is your choice. It has
Right.
nothing to do, what you need out of them is they won't object to it.
We may or may not annex them as our choice.
Right.
We have an out-of-service agreement, or out-of-district agreement, and by the board's choice to either move forward and annex them or leave them underneath this contract of out-of-district service, it's the board's choice.
Yeah, but
That's the May language, you have a choice.
right, but the point is that the agreement between you and them doesn't, you just need them not to object to it.
That's right.
And this is saying they won't object to it. So, the other thing is that the application that goes along with this to LAFCO already says that you're gonna annex. That this is,
So
you're
there's
already.
nothing wrong with changing this to shall. We shall, not may, we shall.
We'll get to the-
You don't, they don't get to force that onto you. You're implying that somehow by doing that in this agreement, the association can impose that obligation on you.
No, what I'm concerned about is that this leaves a loophole where the district doesn't necessarily have to annex.
There's having that, I can talk to you later by why changing that word wouldn't necessarily get you to what you think you're getting to, because then you're trying to enforce a term against yourself.
Right.
You don't promise them, you wanna promise yourself, right? And so when you agreed to do that a couple months ago, that was part of what the board decided, right?
I would like to see that word changed, and I would like to see a timeline in here. The optics of this also are important, aside from the legal ramifications of it, but the optics as well, because we have 1,500 annexed customers who have been paying taxes and never gotten any water.
Let's move on to public comment if there's no other director comment on this.
I need to know what kind of timeline you're talking about. I would have to go back
I'm
to
opposed to
LAFCO.
putting a timeline on it.
Yeah, I don't know what LAFCO's timeline is.
I mentioned that 2 months ago when we voted yes, I'm against the timeline,
Yeah.
so that's me. Public comment, yes.
I've read the contract, and the problem I have with this, and agreed, the district, they need water, we should provide them water. But there's a precedent being set here with the way the language is in this contract, because I just heard Mr. Maupin saying either we annex them or we don't annex them. I think they need to know in this that they do need to be annexed, and actually the cost of annexation is approximately $10,000. So I think that they should know that up front, that they're gonna be responsible for at least that amount of money. because it sets a precedent. Any other person or group could come to this district and say, we want water, and we need water, our wells have dried up, and we wanna be just like Arrow Pines, and that's not appropriate. I mean, every other person in this district has to be annexed.
Anyone else?
Yes, so on a legal term, it doesn't matter what the optics are. If you change that word from may to will, that locks all of you guys into a yes vote, where maybe it's not something that you do, and then they would turn around and sue you because you changed that word from may, which is a legal term dependent upon your vote and, you know, the district's needs. So I believe that while some people are creating a bad optics in this, I feel like maybe they're also trying to set you guys up for a legal problem down the road. I'm not a lawyer, but your attorney over there kind of is saying the same thing, you know, in legal terms, and often politics and legal, you know, when they meet up, they go over things. So thank you guys, and just wanted to comment.
Yes, sir.
I am a member of the board of the Arrow Pines Association. I was here 2 months ago, and I appreciate the board's effort to try and get us water, and we've been hanging on by our fingernails. And it's the first time for me to be in this situation, but my understanding is that, in a sense, you don't get the final say, LAFCO does. If we're gonna adversely affect your water district by us annexing, they won't let us. We know what it's gonna cost, all the environmental things that need to be done. We're willing to pay it. We wanna move forward. We're about to run out of water, and you can throw a rock over and hit my house from here. I don't know why the property was never in the district from day one, but they weren't. And now we need some help.
Any other public comment on that? Okay. Need a motion for resolution number 19-738.
I move we adopt resolution 19-738, did you say?
Yes.
I'll second that.
Okay. Roll call vote, please.
President Hanser,
Yes.
Vice President Brown.
Yes.
Director Nelson.
Yes.
Director Hawthorne.
Yes.
Director Ford. No.
Okay. Item G, resolution 19-739, authorization and eligibility for Department of Water Resources Round 1, the IRWMP Water Management Implementation Grant for replacement of Challenge Redwood Storage Tank and the lining of the Forbstown and Rackerby water storage tanks. So with that, I'll turn it over to the general manager.
We met with DWR, our engineer and myself. We pitched our need to them. They found it worthy to move forward. This is the next step to file a proposal. I'm looking for your approval to do so, and then to execute the grant if received. And this will be to, Challenge Tank, as you know, is a rotting redwood tank. This will replace it in steel, and then Forbstown and Rackerby are steel tanks, but they're in bad shape because of thin walls and that sort of thing. So the other two are to line them, and companies that do the lining have a 15 to 20 year life expectancy, so it buys us time to deal with them at a later date. But the challenge tank is dealt with and replaced in there. Anyway, so this allows me to file the proposal, and then if granted the money to execute the agreement.
That's great. I appreciate you going after that. I will say, if you've ever stood by the Challenge Redwood tank, it's kind of scary. You get the sense it could let go. So this is good news. Let's hope it goes through. Anyone else?
The only comment I have is, could we please not have this one be the one signed? Can we fix all the typos? There's a lot of them.
Jeff, about how long have we gone around about this particular investment? In other words, when did the tanks begin to leak, or the problem with the tank first occur? How old is this problem?
You know, this kind of goes decades back. I'd have to go back to the records to make sure that what I say is absolutely true, so don't hold me to it, but my understanding is some of our infrastructure was bought used. I believe the Redwood tank was bought new, but somehow the 68 rings in my brain. All of them were somewhere in that area, 68, 70s. So they're past their useful life, but I think the only one that was bought new was a Redwood tank, and you've seen it, it's dry rotted. And if we take water out of it, it'll turn into kindling. That's why it can't be lined or anything.
Anyone else? Public comment? Yes.
Yeah, if I may answer Mr. Hawthorne's question, when Mr. Sucre was here, the board approved and we got a $2.2 million grant to do these tanks. And, when the new manager came and the money was spent, it was spent for other things rather than replacing the tanks. So the money was a loan that we took out, a $2.2 million loan, and we used part of that money to replace a penstock up in Woodleaf that was ready to just be destroyed. And we just finally paid that loan off, but
Sure,
the attempt,
that was rich as well.
yeah, the money was, we tried to do it back then, but there were even more precedent things that needed to be done when the flume, it was like a $650,000 fix on the flume that we had to go through. So, it's just, trying to keep pieces together. Another question, is that on the not on Sierra Pacific property, or is that on, whose property is that?
Which one are you referring to?
The Redwood tank.
That is on forestry land.
It's on Forestry. Got it.
Any other comment?
I'm sorry, I'm sure it's okay.
No, thank you, I appreciate that.
All right, so I need a motion for item G, resolution number 19-739. I make a motion that we accept resolution 19-739.
Second.
Okay. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
President Hanson,
Yes.
Vice President Brown,
Yes.
Director Nielsen,
Yes.
Director Hawthorne,
Aye.
and Director Ford.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Item H, smart marketing contract, board review revised contract.
This is another reiteration of the contract for your review. I assume you've had an opportunity to read it. The only thing not spelled out on page 1 is the final annual amount of it. We have it pre-approved right now in our budget, $20,000 for smart marketing. The monthly newsletter is running us about $1,000 to $1,200 a copy. So I'm asking for you to consider maybe adjusting the budget to $40,000 for the work.
Questions?
Well, I'd like to make the comment, I thought she was very helpful in our negotiations with the water agency in getting this most recent grant that we got, so she certainly benefits us.
It helps us make money.
Well, I do actually have an objection now that wasn't there previously when this contract came up. First of all, that $20,000 in the budget was not earmarked for smart marketing. $20,000 was earmarked for public outreach and GIS services. So that's the way it's written in the annual budget. $20,000 for those two services, not one service, first of all. The other thing is that since that contract was initially brought up, it's come to my attention that Smart Marketing has a conflict of interest and should not be doing PR for North Yuba Water District. She is currently representing 2 Yuba County supervisors that are bidding for re-election. And Yuba Water Agency is the agency that we are applying to for grants. And you cannot typically represent both sides of the table. That represents a conflict of interest. So I believe that we need to look for a PR firm outside Smart Marketing so that we don't have any conflict of interest. and find another firm that can help us with any public outreach that we need.
Anyone else?
But you don't, just a question, you're not opposed to the contract, as long as it's not smart market?
I am opposed to the fact that we have X's in here. I'm opposed to increasing it to $40,000 a year, because we don't have that in the budget. We had $20,000, and that was supposed to be for additional GIS services and public outreach. So we don't have that kind of money. We also have not received, as far as I know, we haven't received our revenues from South Feather, which means that right now we're operating on the revenues that we get on the sources that we have in-house, which are only total somewhere in the neighborhood of about $550,000. So given that that's the amount of money we're working on right now, I can't see possibly going and saying, yeah, let's make $40,000 available for that. So yes, correct, I would not necessarily object to this contract, but I do object to smart marketing. There's a conflict of interest. And I also would object strongly and would not vote for $40,000 for public outreach. That's an enormous amount of money for a little water district.
I think you had a good point earlier when you had mentioned that this 1 month one only had close to 5,000, over 5,000.
5,700, but we don't know what she actually did for that amount of money.
So, what I don't wanna see is us get to the end of our 20 and not have it, a lot that years in. So I am for increasing it to 40,000.
And this essentially is an increase in the budget item.
Correct. So you're adding an additional
Changes
20,000.
the budget.
It's already 20,000 approved.
Where is that money coming from? We've already approved an annual budget. That's $20,000 more. Where is that money gonna come from? Are you taking it from someplace else?
That would become just from general.
You've
fund.
got $5 million in the bank,
Right.
so you could shore up your budget, please.
Any other comments?
I have a comment about the idea that a person that's in business for themselves has a conflict of interest if they have more than one customer that knows each other. I think that's total baloney. I think that it's extremely common. In fact, being a computer programmer, software developer, I have a lot of customers that know each other and go to conventions together as friends and work with each other. It's not at all uncommon. And so it's got, the conflict of interest would be if we were representing the supervisor and we were representing the Yuba Water Agency. But it's not us that's doing that, it's Crystal.
She would have a conflict of interest if she
Can we
represents
just
us
argue
and
that?
them.
Let's keep the comments. Any other comments from directors on this? Public comment.
Yeah,
Yes.
Crystal Martin helped Gary Hawthorne with his election, and I'm not sure how many other people of the board. And, I'm really myself against her being at almost every meeting Mr. Moffitt goes to and spending our money when, we are still dealing with leaky ditches, major problems down in Oregon House that need to be repaired and fixed. I think it's exorbitant to be having this.
Yes, ma'am.
I, on the other hand, disagree with Jenny because I think Crystal Martin, whom I've known for many, many years, is an outstanding consultant. And she's a winner. And she strives hard, works hard, and she doesn't stop. If she's working for somebody, she is gonna win for that particular organization or the candidate. She has a reputation for being a winner. So I believe everybody wants her and not everybody can get her. So, that's on all sides. I've seen her represent conservatives, liberals, from all aspects, because that's what she does. She's smart, markets, and she's on all sides of the fence. So I don't see any conflict of interest with her. I've seen her too many times with candidates I agree with and candidates I oppose, and she works. She's paid to work.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Yes, ma'am.
I think the conflict of interest comes in the fact that she knows people what the water agency that the supervisors represent and the water district. She knows facts. That's the problem. And she can leverage what she knows. And that's the problem.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
It's simple. It's the best. There's no more conflict of interest between Crystal Martin representing you guys and the agency or whoever than everybody having a conflict of interest who uses a Microsoft Windows platform. If there's any conflict of interest, it would be in a person spreading lies along with this alliance, trying to have a say in this agency, this district protecting itself. Because let's just go ahead and, show the elephant in the room. You guys are at war. This district is at war for its soul. The people who live in it and the people who are guiding it and directing it. And Crystal Martin is a winner. If there was ever a person that I would hire for a campaign, it would be Crystal, and that's because she's the best. And if people are afraid of her, they probably have good reason to be.
Anyone else?
Yes, I have a comment. Allison Wright, Town Brownsville. I am a marketer. And I've gone up against Crystal Martin, as everyone knows in this room. And the sad thing is, and I will agree with you, Mr. Cross, the sad thing is that this very, very, very small little agency, the image is so tarnished for decades that you have to spend ratepayer and taxpayer money to have to hire a public relations spin artist. It's really, really sad. There are other ways to spend the money than to use someone who's just going to spin. Thank you.
Okay.
One more.
Go ahead, Doug.
I wasn't gonna say anything. I find it ironic that the people, excuse me, I'm sorry. The people that make false accusations, make things up, and are overturned time after time, continue to do so. And then they complain about you spending money to protect yourself from a problem that those very people created. So, have at it, pass that sucker.
Anyone else? Okay, sure. I need a. I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the contract
I'll second it.
with the 40,000.
Okay.
So you second that.
Okay, can I get a roll call vote, please?
President Hanser,
Yes.
Vice President Brown,
Yes.
Director Nielsen,
Yes.
Director Hawthorne, Director Fluor.
No, this is fiduciary irresponsibility. Please put that in
Thank you,
the
that's a no
minutes.
vote, thank you. Okay. All right. Item I, construction service contract with Maricas Construction. Turn that over to General Manager.
We had come to you a while back with Marika's Construction to repair the interior of the building and to repair and paint the exterior of the building, and they've been working on that. The culprit for all of our damage, the dry rot and the interior, was a leaky roof, so that's kind of the cause of all of our problems that we need to address. As you know, and as we discussed before, with all the fires, all the homes that have been lost, finding contractors is pretty difficult. So we went with somebody that you've already approved, and you have his proposal before you.
Questions?
Was there any effort made to find somebody that was more local in Marysville or Yuba?
As I said, we're struggling to try to find contractors that are available, that are reputable, and we took the one that you previously already approved.
So the answer is yes, you did try to find someone in Marysville and Yuba first?
We looked around, we didn't find anybody, but so the answer is yeah, we looked around, we couldn't find anybody.
The attorney's approval, counsel.
Barbara certainly had it ready over.
Yeah. And then what's the, how far out are they, I guess?
They say they can get right on this. They've got other work piling up, and it wasn't by way of threat. They simply said, if you're going to pass, let us know, because we've got clients barking at us. So, that implied to me that they're ready to knock it out, get it done, and get it behind them so they can move on.
So you're talking about getting on before we hit the front of the rain.
Yeah, I mean, that's, in a nutshell, that's it, to get out in front of the rain, and I'm expecting them to start, once this, if you approve this, I'm expecting to see action starting next week.
So all the work that's been done in the room already with the sheetrock, drywall, texture, everything being done, potentially could be at risk if we don't get a roof on pretty quick.
Correct, you'll have the same thing that's already been repaired happen again.
Okay, any other questions?
I'll make a motion, we approve the contract.
Second.
Public comment?
I just have a real, just the way it read, it said slate roof.
So I believe it's a
That's a color.
It's a
Oh,
comp.
I see, so it's a composite roof, slate colored.
Right.
Okay, I was gonna say slate roof, yeah, okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, we have a first and a second. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
President Hanser,
Yes.
Vice President Brown.
Yes.
Director Nielsen.
Yes.
Director Hawthorne.
Yes.
And Director Thor.
Yes.
All right. Item J, this is contract with Byers Leaf Guard Gutters. Turn that over to the general manager.
We asked Mamaricus also about gutters. He gave us a proposal. His proposal was about $1,000 or $1,500 cheaper than the one we're proposing. The one we're proposing has a lifetime guarantee. If anything gets damaged, they forever come out and replace it. It's not supposed to collect trash and stuff, so if the gutters need to be cleaned, they come out and clean them. It's just basically a one-time purchase, and they take it from there. That's why we kind of leaned on that.
Okay. Any questions?
Is Byers a company that's in one location, or is it nationwide, or is it regional?
Did you hear that, Leona? Is Byers local or is it regional?
They're out of Grass Valley.
So it's one company, one office?
They actually have 2 or 3 offices, I think. It's a lot bigger company. The Byers Leaf Guards are a bigger name.
So that's
They
a
just
national-
distribute it, yeah.
That's a national business.
Yeah.
So this is one of their resellers.
Mhm.
So if something happened to this guy, there'd probably be another one
Yes.
in the
Yes.
same town
Mhm.
or within striking distance. Okay, that was the only concern I had. But it's a lifetime guarantee. Can't just be this lifetime.
This is for the front and the back of the building?
Yeah,
Or the side?
yes, this is to cover
Just the front,
front and back.
the sides?
The roof is
Only-
pitched that
yeah.
it drains both ways.
Okay.
Gables.
And the downspouts?
Yeah.
Okay. It's a fairly deep gutter too, so.
I move we accept the buyer's
Is there
contract.
any other questions before we move on? Okay, go ahead.
I move we accept the buyer's contract,
I'll second.
proposal contract.
Okay. Public comment? Okay. I get a roll call vote for the contract with Byers Leaf Guard Gutters.
President Hanser.
Yes.
Vice President Brown.
Yes.
Director Nielsen.
Yes.
Director Hawthorne and Director.
Yes.
Okay. Item.
She said.
She said yes.
Yes. Okay, item K, this is general manager's report. Now I'll turn it over to the manager.
You have the operations memorandum with regards to irrigation. The update is we've concluded the year. As you know, we had to take everybody down who was greater than 1 inch down to 1 inch. So basically, 80% of our customers received full allotment. About 19 customers had to be reduced. And by doing so, by following the steps, we were able to finish out the year. Fortunately, the weather held up for us as well. So I just wanted to let you know that. And we have quite a few people that really appreciated our staff's effort. With regards to the item number 3, we've dealt with this before. November and December, people are in and out of town for the holidays. And so the request is that you might forego those 2 meetings and pick it up on January is what I'd like you to consider.
I don't think that's a good idea. I think we can easily get in one more meeting sometime between now and the new year.
Any other comments? Okay, public?
If I may again address Mr. Maupin regarding irrigation. As you well know, Mr. Maupin, there were at least 3 severe leaks in irrigation this year that were wasting a lot of water. One being the leak on Carol Cabrel's property. The second one being on the, I believe it's the east side of Citron Lane up on top, severe leak up there. And then the leak on my personal property on Marysville Road that took your staff many times pounding at it. And what I'd like to suggest is that now that the ditch is down, that the district take the energy and money to possibly gunite those sections, so that we don't continually have these problems, especially on Carol Cabrel's property, which is a liability for the district. And the one on Citron Lane is very, very leaky. And the one on mine, if it leaks one more time, the road is gonna be covered with mud and there won't be a hillside left. And it's dangerous because Public Works and neighbors were calling me about it. And finally we got it stopped, but I think the only solution truly is to gunite those areas. And for Carol, she is annexed into the district and I'm not ploying for her to get irrigation water. But if it is eventually gunnited, to maybe have an intake pipe put in so that if and when down the road a year or 2 we have the water, she could become a customer and put the water to beneficial use rather than flooding her yard, possibly encroaching her septic system and all the other issues she was dealing with this year. But I believe that area, especially above hers, has historically been a problem. It didn't just start when she reported it. I was told by the former foreman that every year he had to go in and press that area, so it's gonna leak every year. There's not a whole lot we could do about it for all the reasons, so gunite probably is the only solution there. I would highly recommend that this district consider spending some thousands of dollars on irrigation and fixing those leaks.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Any more comment? Okay, I need a motion to accept the general manager's report.
I move we accept the general manager's report.
Does that include the foregoing of November, December?
Yes.
I'll second. And roll call vote, please.
President Hansard,
Yes.
Vice President Brown,
Yes.
Director Nielsen,
Yes.
Director Hawthorne,
Yes.
Director Floor.
No.
Thank you. All right,
The public input?
Directors.
we've done that. Item L, director's input. Anybody have anything?
Yes, I do. So, a couple of things. Number one is that this brochure that Crystal Martin is clearly putting together is being sent, but is being selectively sent. Does not make sense. Not all of the customers receive this. In fact, I think only domestic customers actually receive this in the mail. First of all, I've asked multiple times, I'm asking again, please do not put gfloor@nywd.org email address on this paper. You know very well that I don't receive any email at this email address. I get nothing at this. I cannot even access that email. So I'm asking you, once and for all, please put the email address that I can actually use, not only on this, but on the website as well. That would be greatly appreciated. Secondly, this needs to be removed. This is a heinous thing for a public agency to be putting on a brochure that's going to the public. We are a public agency. There are going to be people who don't like the way things are being done. There are going to be people that don't think this agency is transparent or accountable. And those people have a right to their opinions and their First Amendment rights. So to put out something that says, please be aware of negative detractors, and then it actually names these groups, is a really heinous thing for a water agency to do. We need to put on our big people panties and understand that people are going to not like us, and just man up and deal with it and not put this kind of thing out there. So if this is gonna be mailed out, this needs to be mailed out to every single customer, not a select few, so that everyone gets this. And this needs to be removed.
I have a comment. I think the key message in this alert for district customers is that our name is the North Yuba Water District, and the chosen name of the outside group is the North Yuba Water Alliance, which seems like essentially a copy title from the North Yuba Water District. So I think when they chose their name, they were doing their best to obfuscate the fact that they're not the North Yuba Water District. That's my opinion about that.
Anyone else? Okay, I'll make a comment on that. I very much disagree with that. I feel that needs to be on there for the sole fact that I remind everybody in the room of the false allegations brought against this district, where the state ruled we did absolutely nothing wrong. But people were fed that lie and shoved down their throat. That needs to be in there. We're gonna clear the air with this.
That's
And there should
already
be an
in here.
apology.
That's already in here.
And it will continue.
Your little update is already there. This does not. This does not. You negative detractors, this is not the way to make a good image
That-
for this agency.
That is a drop in the bucket compared to what has been said about this board.
And
Compared-
it will continue to be said, and that's the nature of public service, and it's the nature of elected officials. People say nasty things about us, they say nasty things about our agency. Ask any elected official.
Leona, is it a restricted mailing list for this brochure?
No, it's a list of all of the customers.
So is there any evidence that there are people that aren't getting it? Who's not getting it?
Can I interject?
Yeah.
I am hearing from people that they're not getting it. Now, the addresses we use, they get their bills, but they don't get that publication. So our problem might be with the mail service. I need to look into it, but every address is valid, and they get their bills, but somehow it's selective, they get our publication. So I'm gonna be tracking that down where the origin of this failure is.
Yeah, I just
Sending it
wanted
to
to be clear that
irrigation.
there was no intention of restricting
None of the irrigation
distribution
people
of this
No,
newsletter.
we have
I
a
don't
full
agree with
mailing
you.
list. It goes out to every customer, but every customer is not getting it.
Are we getting them sent back undeliverable?
I'm gonna check into all of this. This has just come up like this week because this is our second round. First one you think maybe a hiccup, second one you have to start questioning stuff.
Anyone else?
I have a comment. There's been conversation about what are we gonna do with the additional water that we get by piping the Forbstown ditch. And some of the folks in the community are making us sound like idiots by saying that it's all about a big housing development that's gonna be up in the mountainside. And that's where all the new water's gonna go. And they're neglecting to realize that there are 1,500 annexed customers in Dobbins and Oregon House that have never gotten a drop of water. And those would be the first contenders for us to look at when we develop the master plan for irrigation.
Anyone else? Okay, public. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hawthorne, I know Mrs. Hawthorne is on the fire board for Dobbins Oregon House. The folks from Siller Brothers, Siller Construction and Jamie Siller Chiropractor own the old Preacher Pearson Ranch going down Frenchtown Road. And that group came in front of the old board when I was on it. They want to do a housing development there. And I want you guys to hear this because I will be in front of them the fire board next Tuesday. The problem with them developing their land is, number one, there is not enough water to serve down there. When Chuck Barbaro is the closest line there, and there's a fire hydrant right across from, I just saw it on the way up, Mr. Meyer, Jerry Meyer's house. When the fire trucks hook up to that, it drains every drop of water that he has. And I don't know how many other customers on New York House Road or up above. And what they're telling the fire board is that there's a fire hydrant, so it's no problem, there's domestic water. That's a lie, there is not enough water. And then the biggest interesting issue is they just paved the road, so if we have to go, we're gonna have to tear up the new road, but that's hopefully on the builders. But there's not enough water for fire protection. It's been proven by the board previously. I'm hoping that development does not occur unless there's ample proof that they have enough water. And these parcels are coming out of TPZ, which means timber, which means they break down into 20-acre parcels. So just imagine serving domestic water to a 20-acre parcel. They're gonna have orchards, they're gonna have everything, horses, you name it, vineyards. Are we gonna serve domestic water to those size parcels? And any of these other, Sober Wheeler, they're all TPZ land. They cannot be developed into 5-acre parcels, they're 20-acre parcels. So that's a big issue to be considered.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
Would you like to?
Only that they haven't made any headway with us. Their plans are unacceptable.
Right.
And they're apparently unwilling to change them, so
Well, then
we don't see them moving forward unless something
major
change. So you're worrying about something that's
Well, I'm not
a non-issue.
worried, I'm not worried, it's just that they were again in front of the fire board.
Yeah, well, it's not just the fire board that gets to make determination. We have standards they have to build to it.
Well, they told the fire board that we gave them a will serve letter.
You have a will, I don't want to keep belabor this, you want me to keep going? Just let it
That was a previous.
You've got an old will serve letter, and the word in it is may serve, might serve, it never committed to it.
Okay, that's good.
Yes, ma'am, in the back.
Yes, my concern is I keep hearing this comment about freedom of speech. And my thought is that North People Water District, when these brochures come out, which I really appreciate, I like to hear what's going on that's positive in our district. But I get the names of all the directors on there and who's working and who's doing what. But when I get those emails from North People Water Alliance on a regular basis, there are no names attached. It's just an email from North People Water Alliance. There's nothing there that says that you may get rid of this email or you may whatever, and there's no name. So I personally don't want to get rid of something that I don't know really where it's coming from. And it's very misleading, misguiding, and I want to know what they're saying because I don't know who these people are out there. It's just some random group of people that are afraid to say their name. Freedom of speech is free if you're willing to represent yourself with your name.
I'd like to respond to that briefly. A few meetings back, Mr. Workman asked the
Excuse me. This is
the water lines to
excuse me,
stand up.
Gretchen, this is the public's chance to comment. We had our director's input. Sir?
So pertaining to the newsletter, sadly, I believe that one of you commented that they tried to pick a very similar name to yours. This is often used in hacking and spoofing, and I've seen this group do it also with Facebook pages and many other things. So it's very good that you have that disclaimer on there to inform people, because as a person with an IT background, I'm gonna tell you right now, I still get a lot of calls of people putting their information into the wrong webpage because it's similar, or thinking that that information is real because it's similar enough. It's an old dirty trick, and everything in that newsletter is true, and I hope you guys keep that disclaimer because it's important for the public who is maybe not as savvy about these kinds of spoof sites and stuff like that, are aware of them. Otherwise, who knows? Next, that anonymous alliance may be sending bill statements out to these people. Who knows what they're capable of?
In the back?
I'm Donna Corson. I live in Dobbins. I'm one of the people that, Mr. Weckman asked who was the Water Alliance, and about 10 or more people stood up and said, so we are out front. You know who we are. We're not afraid to communicate. We'd like to talk. That's our biggest issue, is freedom of information, transparency. That's our biggest issue with this board, is you fight us on everything that we want to know and that we want to communicate about. It's like, we don't want anything to do with you, your suggestions, your ideas, and your questions. That's what a public agency is. That's why we fight for transparency here. That's why we bring up the issues that we do. It's about public participation. Won't you please get that and understand? We don't want to go one-on-one. We want the information. We want to work for the community. It's not that we're against individuals.
And stop telling lies.
We're not telling lies.
Okay, that's enough. That's enough, guys. Okay, anyone else? In the back right here? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I just want to let these people know that after the last meeting, 2 o'clock in the morning, someone from the Water Alliance concocted another harassment letter, and they were calling people on the board all kinds of names, and us people in the public, using words like crazy, sinister, mindless, and we got copies of all this stuff. It does have the Water Alliance logo on it. And this goes on a daily basis to some people.
And it's directed to their families, to their immediate families. It's slurs on their families, and it's inappropriate, it's wrong, it's harassing, it's intimidating. And nobody else gets these but the individuals that they're wanting to harass. But it comes from the North River Water Alliance.
Anyone else? Okay. All right. Item M, we'll be going into closed session. We'll go into closed session now at 6:13. Yeah. I'm sorry. If there's any public comment for closed session, feel free. We'll go ahead and open it up to the public now before we go into closed session.
Just one thing, with the idiot trying to make you guys look stupid with the extra water and everything, anything that you guys can put out as directors on social media to kind of combat the rise of the alliance would be great. Something like the guys mentioned earlier. Closed session, I understand completely, but anything you guys can put out legally would be great in order to combat the lies coming out of that alliance.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
I just got a simple question on the closed session. It says initiation of litigation. Can you tell me any more on that? I've never seen it done that way.
Okay, Barbara, can you clarify that?
It's just a potential litigation, so we don't put any kind of, potential initiation of litigation, we don't put any name or anything until it's actual litigation.
Thank you.
Yes.
I noticed on the South Feather Water and Power agenda this past week, there was very similar language and same government code. I'm just really hoping that we're not getting into a legal battle with them.
Anyone else? Okay. All right, so we're going to go into closed session now at 6:14. Thank you.
Please, yeah.
Thank you.